Welcome to the Smart Property Investment Show with your host, Phil Tarrant.
Good everyone, how you going? Thanks for joining us on the podcast. I have some interstate guests in the studio today. I often get beaten up, whether it's on social media or sort of face-to-face. For some reason, people like to give me a hard time face-to-face, and I like that I am not as representative as I can be about people from right across Australia coming on the Smart Property Investment Show. So flying in today all the way from Brisbane, or Queensland is our guest. And if you're sitting somewhere in the other side of Australia somewhere and happen to pass through Sydney, make sure you let me know. And I'm really looking to cultivate a lot more guests from outside of New South Wales. We talk a lot about areas outside of New South Wales, but actually having people that live outside New South Wales is where we're based, is where the studio is, and we like to do stuff in the studio. So if you're passing through, let us know. If it's a holiday, if it's something or other, you can make it a tax deduction if that's the case. Not that I'm going to give tax advice, but email the team, editor@smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. In the studio today, Glen, inverted commas, Goose, McGrath and Gabi Billing. They've come in and have a bit of chat about their journey investing in property and the way they see the world. Guys, how are you going?
Very well, thank you.
How are you going, Phil?
I'm really good. I'm uncomfortable about calling you Goose, though, but it seems like that is it's Goose, is it?
It's definitely Goose. And I also just got to point out as well that whilst Gabi and I actually do aspire to one day live in the beautiful tropics of Queensland, we're actually from Victoria.
Are you from Victoria?
Yeah.
So I thought you were from Brisbane.
No, not at all.
I got that completely wrong.
Yeah, no, we're from the sunshine state of Victoria. But yeah, we just thought we'd let you go. That's okay.
Oh, really?
Sunny Vic.
Why did I think Brisbane? Why did I think Victoria? I don't know. Anyway, there you go.
Yeah.
So that's how organic and raw this podcast is, and I'm
Absolutely.
the first. And one of the reasons why we do the podcast is for us to show how all the mistakes we've made in our portfolio.
Good.
So
Good.
it's good that it's consistent also on the narrative, right?
I think we were making eyes at each other like, do we live in Queensland? Do we live in Queensland?
Soon.
Maybe,
That's the dream.
maybe it's right. Are you investing in Queensland? There you go.
Absolutely,
Look, segue,
yes.
bam.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that.
Smooth.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually, and I was wondering if you actually knew that, because we recently, like very, very recently, just bought another investment property in Queensland. So yeah, that's we are sort of operating in that neck of the woods as well.
All right. So two things that I've established so far: that I got where you live completely wrong. I've rectified that. Sorry, three things. Second, it's okay to call you Goose. So I'm going to find out why in a second. And third, you've just bought another investment property in Queensland. So I'm assuming you have a lot of investment properties, or a number of investment properties, or some. How many?
2 and a bit.
Okay. All right.
And a bit, yeah.
Two and a bit investment properties. All right. Okay. We'll deal with that in a sec. Why Goose?
You know, that's actually a long story. It goes back to when I was 14. I grew up in a small country town, like a real small country town with like one kind of street. And when I was a teenager, I was out with some friends in the big town, the big smoke. It had like a set of traffic lights. And anyway, we went around to visit a friend, and the older brother, who now older, not quite sure what they'd gotten up to, but for some reason they seemed to get the impression that I was a talking goose. So it's stuck ever since.
So you've just owned it. And gone,
Yeah. It's stuck since I was 14, and it's gone through all my professional life and obviously all through my adulthood, and it's stuck.
And it's literally only your mum that calls you Glen.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I tried to shed it a couple of times professionally, and it just has never quite sat.
It's gone. Have you heard that story before?
Oh, I've heard it a few times. Yeah.
It's cool. You got to embrace your nicknames. I've got a few I know of. I'm sure I've got plenty I don't know of. Right? I'm sure they're pretty. What's yours, Gabi? You got a nickname?
Oh, just Gabi.
Gabi's cool.
Yeah.
Gabi's all right.
No, I'm all right.
So professional life, you said you carried your name through. What have you guys been doing for the last sort of 10 years work-wise?
So, most recently we've pivoted careers into real estate, but we can talk about that in a minute. I mean, previous to that, we were working in festivals and events.
Okay.
So myself for longer than Gabi. I mean, I've been working in festivals and events since I was 14 years old.
Okay.
So spent a large part of the last decade.
What are we talking like bush doof type stuff, or
bush,
okay.
Everything from Olympics to bush doofs. We organised an event for a few years in a row for 1 million people for the Malaysian government, for the Minister of Youth and Sport. So pretty serious international level events. But also, bush doofs and stuff like Burning Man and Glastonbury, and some pretty wild and interesting parties. So it's a pretty fun decade.
So you had to grow up at some point.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. It was.
Were you doing the same? Is that how
So we met about three years ago now. That was through events as well. So I just started working with Goose's company actually. and then started managing it, and then now we're in real estate.
And then, when I met Gabi was when I started to grow up, so
Yeah.
that was okay. Yeah.
So talk me about, because we do a lot of events here, and so we're sort of events, but very different. We're not doing bush tour.
Well, you could. There's absolutely we could help you organise a bush
could
tour.
do,
Yeah,
yeah.
Market there.
Well, but people keep dying like flies right at those things, right? You know, go find
It's
them in a
all
tent.
about the
and
media
so-
perception,
It
Phil. You
is,
should
it
know
is.
that.
I know. They're quite good fun, these festivals. I got there's a sales team in here. I reckon they spend most of their weekends at a festival. They enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's good fun. But so how was that? Was that just project management, really?
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
So the large part of my career has been, site project management, things like that. So yeah, organising the complex logistics and delivery of these events from start to finish. So, it's varied and it's always been an interest of mine because you get to travel and you get to do loads of really cool stuff. But as I'm sure you can imagine, if you spend 6 months of the year or more on the road at bush tours and stuff, it's you sort of, it has a shelf life, I think. So.
What's the secret to a great event, you reckon?
Secret to a great event, and I think this is something that's kind of really resonated with me over the years. It's about how much emphasis goes on transforming the people. Because if you just have an event, and I think you can apply this kind of concept generally to any business, right? If you just have an event which, has bands, open the door, sell booze, whatever, get them in, get them out, it won't have much of a shelf life. However, if there's a real and genuine and passionate and deep raw sense of trying to encourage people to be more than themselves in some way, to transform them, I think that it delivers a much more holistic and rich experience for the user.
Yeah, so it's like being emotionally involved
Exactly.
in the journey of being at an event.
Exactly right.
Like a property investor.
Exactly right. There's not a lot of like the transferable skills and the transferable interest between those two industries. I mean, they seem like so polarized between, I guess, what would be considered to be let's be honest, like fairly kind of straight, stuffy real estate sector environment. A lot of the people that I've in the festival world have surrounded myself with, it's such a foreign concept. But there's actually a huge amount of overlays when you start looking at not only the project management level stuff and analysis and understanding, but also looking at the human transformation and how that can actually benefit people. And I think you've just got to think about what's the main driver in whatever you do. So.
Okay, so you're happy doing what you're doing now?
Love it. It's the most fulfilling thing I've ever done. Yeah.
Okay, so what is exactly you doing now? You're in real estate. What sort of work?
So Gabi and I have started a buyer's agency.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah. So investor focused, and we're kind of focusing on helping people to transform their current position. So I mean, like, whilst we do support and want to work with people who've got 20 property portfolios, our passion is really about trying to take those people that are sort of in the 0 to 5 range and help them really transform their wealth creation story. So,
Okay.
yeah,
So you're going to move back into the festival environment. You can set up a stand there saying, don't spend your money at festivals and outfits.
Yeah.
Invest in property.
Exactly right. It might not be the outfits they spend all their money on, but they can definitely say something.
That's cool. And how are you enjoying this journey, Gabi? Is it all
I
right?
love it. I love it. It's just so, like, we just had a strategy session with a new client this morning. It's just so exciting to really help people realize what they want to do with their life and with their whole wealth creation journey. It's like you see them, because we do video calls, you see them kind of realize they just think about things that they haven't really thought about. Like, oh, okay, in 10 years, I actually want, like, I think everyone has this idea that they'd like to invest in property, but they don't really know what that means. So we try and help people pull apart, like, oh, I want 5 properties because I want to live by the beach and I want to spend all day, every day with my kids. And it's about, like, for us, it's the biggest thing is like helping people realize that and then using property as a vehicle to get to that.
Is that helping people sort of finding out their why rather than helping them realize their why, or is it a mixture of both?
I feel like it's a mix. I think, like, we're finding a lot, people, obviously, they've never really asked themselves that question. So it is, I guess, defining that with them. But yeah, I'm not really sure. It's just like
It's a tough one because a lot of people don't really, I don't know. I don't know. I'll sort it out at some point. Yeah. But a lot of people don't really get it. But when they actually start thinking of the utility of property and how it can sort of shape the way in which they approach life and move through life and have a, inverted commas, better life. When it clicks, people get really hungry and they start sort of driving forward. How was it for you guys? As property investors, which is why I wanted to sort of bring you on rather than the philosophy of the whys of business stuff. So you were working, you went, let's start investing in property. Like, why? Why'd you start?
Well, and this is kind of leads into what we were just talking about in a sense as well. I mean, so working in events, and as Gabi said, we were working together and we were working sort of 80, 100-hour weeks, and it was a pretty intense and very draining lifestyle. And I guess some of that intrinsic drive and that gloss had worn off a little bit. And we started thinking, our relationship was getting more serious, and we were thinking, great, what are we going to do? How are we going to take that next step? And like most people, I guess our fundamental understanding of property was subpar, and we didn't really understand. We thought we had a good idea of what we needed to do to be able to get ahead. So we went out and made the very non-emotional and very well thought out financial decision of buying an off-the-plan apartment near Melbourne, and very quickly realised that wasn't.
Was this before or after you started listening to the Smart Property Investment Show?
Before. Okay. No, before. So, and this was kind of the catalyst for our journey, because literally like the day that we signed the contracts, we were rushing to sign the contracts. We were like, gotta go, hurry up, because we were going to a Rich Dad Poor Dad property education seminar. Now,
okay.
Look, this is not to get into a discussion about the pros and cons of property education seminars and spookers and stuff, but nonetheless, we learnt a lot that we hadn't really kind of taken stock on, and very quickly realised that.
So you signed a contract and then you went to the seminar, the seminar, which the Rich Dad Poor Dad stuff's pretty good, right? Like
Look,
I've read the book
the fundamentals are great, and I think our journey also really started with reading Rich Dad Poor Dad and also 7 Steps to Wealth and understanding that, and it was like there was a light bulb moment that we started to understand what we could do if we could transform not only our understanding but also the direction that we wanted our lives to go using that as a tool. So,
So you signed a contract, off-plan apartment. How long between signing it and getting the keys was it? Pretty much straight away.
Well, so notice we said 2 and a bit.
Yes.
Properties. So that's the bit.
Okay.
So it's actually not settled.
Oh, so your first purchase in property, you don't have it yet.
Correct.
Okay, here we go. All right. So when was the official signing date of the contract on this property? And by the way, I'm not beating up off-the-ground properties with this. Some people did really well out of it. You should time it right nicely. So
absolutely.
Put that aside. But
Look, if it's the right financial decision, then it makes sense. This is not to bookend anything and go never buy off the plan. It's about understanding the real mechanics behind it and making sure that it is the right decision that's going to propel you to the right place. And part of that, of course, is understanding what your why is and where your destination is. Because if you don't understand that, then how are you going to know if it's the right choice, right? Anyway,
so talk me through the mechanics. So for people that don't know how it works, how does it work? Off the plan purchase. Tell me about your experience.
Our experience with that property was, firstly we went out for a lazy Sunday ride just to kind of go window shopping at a display unit, and got very well sold to by a very charismatic kind of guy. Now, look. The premise on which we bought it is 4.5 kilometres from the CBD, but you can't go wrong. It's a gentrifying suburb, fantastic, high demand. The numbers stacked up and looked like it was going to be yielding at, I think, at around 6.7%. So we're going, okay, great. We can either live in it and live out the cosmopolitan dream, or, it's going to be a really great financial decision. The reality is that we weren't looking at the right numbers. So it's easy to think that you understand stuff like vacancy rates, right? And it's very easy to sort of like look at these figures and go, oh, okay, yeah, I think it's doing this, I think it's doing that. But without looking at the full picture, like what is the vacancy rate on a 2-bedroom apartment as opposed to just generalized for the suburb? What is the trend? Which direction is it going? And all of that kind of stuff. So the unfortunate thing is that whilst it does make a lot of sense, it's 4.5 kilometres from the city and it's really nice and blah, blah, blah. It's, there's literally hundreds of other apartments being built immediately around it. So there's a huge supply risk. Obviously the transition in the economic climate has slowed down the construction phase. So it's actually not going to settle now until Q3 or Q4 2021. So, there's a massive air gap between the idea of us buying it and us settling on it. So the idea at the time was buy it at a set price, the value goes up. By the time we settle, hey, we've already made money. How wonderful is this going to be? Good job. But the reality is that what's actually happened is we sort of bought pretty much at the peak. It was towards the middle of last year or early Q2 last year. And then, so that's actually gone down in value on paper, but you're not going to realize that until it's built anyway. So how do you know?
So what do you think it is? How far down under, what'd you pay for it? Well, what'd you contract at?
Okay, so contracted at $556,000.
Okay, 2 better.
Yep.
Parking spot.
parking spot, pool, lift, like nice.
All that really cool stuff that breaks.
All that great stuff, all that, all that real, non-emotional, well thought out financial. Yeah, exactly. So look, best estimates, I'd probably say it's probably dropped by 10%.
Okay.
Which is
what it is.
It is what it is, and the reality is, like most people starting out, we convinced our parents and stuff that we were making this great decision and got help to get a leg up and to get into it, and then have kind of gone,
So that they helped out with the deposit.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So you've tied out your parents' money and not your own, which is
yeah.
Don't worry. When you say Q4
Q3, Q4 2021,
2021, like a year and a half away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
That's if it doesn't keep getting pushed back, which we kind of hope it does. So.
Yeah. Well, it sort of helps, right?
Well, yeah.
You're not getting utility out of the deposit money, but, if you can push it back another year or so, hopefully markets have moved and at a point in time, it will be worth more than what you contracted at. It's just when that point in time is and what's the sort of hurt factor during that period.
Yeah, well, this is exactly right. And this is how we're looking at it. And so it'll either be, maybe a low caliber investment, I guess, or might be a nice home for a little while, or we'll make good when it comes good.
Yeah, you never know. So that's the bit part of the portfolio. So the other two properties, tell me about it. Where are they? What are they?
Yeah, so that situation was kind of a catalyst for, okay, we actually need to work and leverage what we do have to make sure by the time it comes around that we haven't lost, hopefully. So we were like, okay, how do we leverage what we do have and purchase something else? So I think the scenario was we were renting in Inner West Melbourne. The lease ran out. Landlord, rightly so, decided he was going to move back in.
Yep.
So we went, okay, should we go and rent somewhere else? Doesn't feel like the right decision to make in where we're at. So we went and bought a house in Geelong, it's a 640 square metre block. It's a 3-bed weatherboard. It's pretty run down. It's definitely a reno project for down the line. But we bought it
We bought it about $40,000 under market value, and it's on a subdividable block, right? So we kind of, between the gap between the signing the contract on the apartment and making that purchase was about 7 months.
Okay.
And in that time, we'd obviously realised the errors we'd or the oversights we maybe have made with the apartment. So we'd been saving quite a lot and obviously investing a lot in our property education as well. So it was actually quite a funny scenario when that came about because we were running our own music festival. So, there was quite a lot going on. And it was a week before the festival that we got the notice saying, all right, here's your 60 days. And then literally that weekend we went, okay, how do we slam together everything we know? How much deposit have we got? What can we do here? How can we make this work? And went and found a property $40,000 under market value. So
there you go.
Yeah,
not messing around.
Yeah.
How'd the music festival go?
Well, not that great.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was an amazing event, but it would have been amazing with about twice as many people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's always hard, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Look, that's and that's part of business and industry, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Difficult. Okay. So what was the property after that? The other one?
So that was in January this year. That was. So it was like settlement from December through to Jan, and we're now in May. And we've just settled on third in
two and a bit in less than 12 months.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah,
and that's in
just outside of Brisbane, so about 25 minutes outside of Brisbane.
Okay.
And the mechanics of that were quite cool because we after we kind of worked out how to bolt together all the metrics around property to be able to leverage and forward plan and to actually have a plan to move forward rather than just like buy and hope for the best. So we were able to leverage the equity out of property 1 and buy property 2, and all we had to do was dip into our pocket for $1,450. So
it's all right.
So being able to sort of be in a position to do that through utilizing the skills and information we learned, put us in a really great position. And that's sort of something we're trying to encourage other people to do as well, because one of the biggest barriers for people getting into property is it's too expensive, it's too scary, it's too hard, it's too risky, they don't know. And so what we're trying to show, particularly to our peers and our friends and our family, is that you can do it, and you can do it well and intelligently and safely, and progress a portfolio that's going to achieve those goals.
So you're able to realise that deposit for that last property you bought because you purchased the Geelong one $40,000 under value and you got it revalued and it showed the actual value of it. You just took that out at 80% LVR and then used that to finance the next deposit.
Yeah, so we had it at 80, we refinanced it to 90 and then used it for the deposit on the new one plus all of the acquisition costs.
Okay.
So it's pretty much just paid for everything.
Okay. And what's next now? So are you going to keep marching on and get some more?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's the plan. So we've set our kind of 25-year goals and our 5-year goals. Look, we've got a pretty ambitious strategy. We want to have 25 properties in 5 years.
Okay.
Which sounds pretty ambitious, but we've mapped out our plan about how we're going to do it. Obviously, it's contingent on, a lot of things falling in place in the right way and working really hard to do that. And it's not just about a number either. We've got goals that we want to be able to leverage that into in order to be able to do other things with our life. So yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It's pretty aggressive though, 25 properties in 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to actually invest time and effort into that. It doesn't happen through chance.
No, correct. That's not something that you passively sort of kick back and go, oh, well, we'll just see. So we've got a pretty clear strategy that we're going to be trying to buy sort of one every 4 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how are you going to sort of fund that rapid growth? How are you sort of generating income?
Well, that's through our position as buyer's agency in the business that we've created.
So you got a business that creates income and then you use that to, okay. How about borrowing? Do you think that'll be a challenge when you're sort of relatively new to business? Do you think the banks are going to be happy because it's tough to get money at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. It is tough to get money. And, Gabi, I'd love to get your perspective on this as well. But I think it's quite interesting that a lot of the people that talk about how hard it is to get money now are the people who borrowed money, say, 10 years ago. Okay, we didn't really start our investing journey into the last 18 months.
Yeah.
So for us, it's just how it is. And so for anyone who's kind of newer into the scheme of things, it's just how it is. So it doesn't seem like it's hard. It just seems like
it just is.
It just is.
That's a really interesting point because everyone laments on the fact of how hard it is right now and I can't get money and this, that and the other. If you've never borrowed before, it's just the way it is.
Yeah. It is. And it's an interesting thing, and particularly when you're talking about all these potential tax changes and all these changes that are afoot or potentially afoot within the market and the industry. You've got to remember that it's only a snapshot in time, right?
Yeah.
And if you can objectively look at that, it just is, and just don't get caught up in the what was. I mean, look, for us, as you touched on, starting a business, there is a latency between our income and then our ability to borrow, and that's something that we're quite mindful of. And so we're being strategic in kind of how we're structuring our incomes and our resources and doing that kind of stuff.
And you're not going to dabble in the old events business just to keep your hand in? Do you think that'll happen, or you never know if the opportunity pops up? Or you're just done. You're done and dusted.
I never say never, but I definitely say not right now.
I'm saying never.
Yeah, definitely not right now. I think there was a certain part of our lives that got given over to that, and we've got a much bigger mission and aspiration now. So
yeah, that's cool. So on that mission aspiration, that for you guys, the why, having 25 properties obviously is a wealth creation component to the reason why you're doing that. Is there some big number you've got that's going to give you the life that you want to live or expect to live? Gabi, what do you reckon? Not sure.
We write down our goals quite frequently, and I'm in the habit at the moment of writing, I own 300 houses. There's no kind of timeline on that one. But yeah, I think everyone kind of just wants more time, more freedom. I think the biggest thing about wealth creation as a concept is it's about freedom and choice. So you never know what's coming around the corner, but having that freedom and that ability to move and kind of change your trajectory to suit different goals.
And that sort of seems like be a common driver with most property investors I talk to. They just go, look, I just want to be the master of my own fate and, do what I want to do.
Well, I think there's actually a little bit more to that. I mean, there's kind of three key drivers, like deep human drivers, and that's freedom, significance, and transformation. And those three things will kind of, in some way, drive everyone's choice, right? Everyone wants to feel significant. Everyone wants to be able to leave a legacy. They want to feel like they've got some impact on their world, and they don't just exist and pass and be forgotten in some way. They want something more, and that means different things for different people. Some people want to have a statue, and other people want to have $1 million, and some people want to, hand down a legacy of a portfolio to their children. But most people want the freedom of choice. Most people don't want to quit work. They just want to know that they can.
Yeah. You've thought about this a bit, haven't you?
Quite a lot. Yeah. Because the other massive thing in that is transformation. Because if you've ever been in a job or been in a position in your life where you're just doing the same thing and you're not growing, then that's the point at which you'll start to hate your existence. So that concept of transformation and growth is the other kind of key driver. And Gabi and I have talked about, we've got wealth creation goals for a purpose. We've got a bigger picture idea that we can create education programs and stuff to be able to help other people as well. And we want to be able to leverage our wealth position to be able to inspire other people to transform their lives so they can achieve significance and freedom. And that's kind of what it's all for.
So this sort of journey of transformation, which you're both going through individually and also collectively, you said that you've invested time and, I imagine, money in property education. A good thing with property education these days is some really good free stuff out there, i.e. Smart Property Investment Show. But you're here in Sydney all the way from Melbourne to do some stuff yourself, right? You're up here for, from here going to sit in a... Is it today, tomorrow?
It's for the next 2 days. We're going to sit in the Hordern Pavilion and we're going to see Jane Liu and Tony Robbins and a whole bunch of other business leaders, around the context of, growth and business and all that kind of stuff.
So how do you go about approaching something like that? Are you just completely open mind and go, look, I intend to make it useful and take something away with it, but what you will take away, you don't know? Is that sort of how you approach education?
Yeah, I think with any of our, we're knowledge junkies. We'll read and we'll get obsessed with what we're trying to take away from something. But you're right, you can go into it and not actually know what you want to get out of it.
Because I normally go into these things going, this is going to be shit.
Yeah.
Right. This is, not where you're going, at least they know what they're doing. But there's a lot of stuff out I just go, oh God, I don't reckon I'm going to get anything out of this. But I force myself there. And when I have an open mind, I generally am a lot more receptive to bringing in new ideas or thoughts.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you hope that usually you'll get something out of it. You'll be glad that you went, even if it's okay, well, I made a commitment to going and I went and that's it. But
I imagine it's not free where you're going to, right? It's probably cost you a few bucks, I imagine.
Yeah, actually, through our networks and stuff, this actually was a pretty good opportunity. So that works out all right. And I think that it is a case of trying to sift the good from the bad. With property education, with any kind of education, you've got to be able to look at the good and the bad. You can't just take one stream and go, I only want the good stuff, because you'll never form a well-rounded perspective on what you understand. My feeling is that if you want to feel something in your core, then you've got to fully immerse in it and allow it to get all the way in. And in that, you'll kind of sift through the good bits and the bad bits and hang on to the good stuff.
It sounds like, and I've only just met you, but your journey through this sort of events and festivals and stuff, which is typically quite an emotive, connected crowd of people, you've really taken that into sort of life after that, and you're still sort of driven a lot by that sort of experience in the journey. So, which is cool. I think it's a good thing. Just an observation, but
yeah, no, I think you're 100% correct.
Yeah. But one of the things I do like about you going to see Robin this afternoon, that this podcast always ranks higher than he's on the iTunes rating. So I always get a lot of satisfaction.
Really?
Because he's he's big news. Yeah?
Oh, yeah, he's
massive, but I always like it when we sort of rank high.
That is fantastic.
Good. So on that basis, I want you to tell everyone about this podcast so it keeps ranking higher and higher. But, going back to, sort of messing around, but, investing in your education is absolutely critical if you're going to be serious about property investing.
Yeah, particularly, we're not here to spruik property education seminars. It's not that kind of thing. It's just the constant investing and time. It is money, but it's time. And if you really want to do this and you want to take control of where you're going, you need to listen to podcasts like these, and you need to read. Take what you want from the news, but you need to read and you need to digest as much as you can.
Well, yeah, and it is also about that leverage. I mean, one of my friends is a doctor and she wants to buy a house, and fantastic. And she straight up said to me, I've spent 8 years learning how to be a doctor. I don't want to have to try and learn how to buy a house. And there is that, and that is that kind of leverage. And you've got to look at where your interest wants to go. And then you've got to apply yourself to understanding it. Otherwise, you'll only ever have a surface knowledge on anything that you do. And I think that's where, if you can, and you have an interest to immerse yourself in property education, do it. If you have an interest in wanting to study medicine, do that. But whatever pathway you want to take in life, you've got to first invest in yourself before you invest in anything else.
And you can't do everything.
No, you can't do everything, but you've also got to know when to outsource the stuff that you can't do.
Yeah, I know.
We outsource stuff all the time.
I'm big fan of outsourcing. So let's put a line in the sand. So we catch up in a year's time. I know you guys like goal setting.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What are we going to talk about? Where are you going to be at? Year's time.
In a year's time, our business will have developed quite a lot more. So at the moment, we've got a mission to try and help 150 people by April next year, which is exciting. And then we want to grow on that. And we also, by next year, want to have started a small development arm for the business as well, and be starting to run sort of short courses and stuff to help educate and inspire people to get into the space too.
And this goal of 25 properties in 5 years, that means you're probably going to have to collect a few on the way, right? It's going to be lumpy, right? It's not going to be a linear line, but, where are you going to be in a year's time, do you think?
Property-wise?
Yeah.
It's tough because it is pending, like we are starting this new business because we both quit our last job and now we're in this. So it's, pending lending but
6, I think we've got 6. We write our goals down every day. So
you write them every day, do you?
Yeah, we write them every day. We've got a pretty rigorous schedule where we go.
Where do you write them?
So we have, actually I should have brought it in. We have our 25-year, 5-year, 1-year, 90-day, 30-day goals all written down.
In a book?
Like pretty printed out, yep.
Like you've actually written the thing, or is it like you scribble in a book? Have you got a nice leather-bound book or something or other?
We do actually have a leather-bound book. We have our full suite of goals. We spent a full whole weekend mapping it all out.
Yeah.
So we have that, which is fantastic. And then every day we get up and write our 30-day, 90-day.
Do you have your own books, or
Yes.
you share the book?
Our own books.
Your book?
Yeah.
Can you look at each other's book?
Yeah, we trade. Yeah, we trade notes. We're different people with different aspirations, different emotional wants and needs, and we express ourselves in different ways. But then we like to put those.
That's
together.
cool. The reason why I ask is people really like this sort of detail because they go, oh yeah, like I write it and I stick it on a mirror, and when I look in the mirror, I see my goal and I go, oh, that's right.
we can give you our template if you want.
Yeah, and I think just on that as a point of interest, because a lot of people talk about goal setting and they don't really know what it is, and they don't really know how to do it or why to do it. And like, what do you do? Oh yeah, I want to own a
Feels
yacht.
arbitrary.
It feels arbitrary, right? So one lesson that we learned from one of our mentors was really powerful is to set 25-year goals. It's very specific. And we're like, why 25?
Don't be dead.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But if you break 25 years down into 100 pieces, so like 1%, that's 90 days. So that's a 3-month block. So everyone overestimates what they can do in a day and underestimates what they can do in a year. So if you break your year down into quarters, 3-month blocks, it's much more digestible, and you can very much more clearly see what that pathway needs to be. And that is just 1% of your 25-year goals. So work out where you want to go, bust it up into little single percents and hit that.
It's smart, and everyone can do it. It's just really having the discipline.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, you can refinance a property every 90 days usually on average. So
there you go. All right, well, I've enjoyed the chat, Glen and Gabi. It was good fun.
Awesome.
I hope you enjoy the rest of your time here in the Big Smoke.
Yeah,
In the big smoke.
I try to work out why, like, someo's planted a seed in my head that you're from Brisbane. Anyway, Queensland.
No, that's okay. That's
right.
all good.
No, you guys are definitely Melbourne people. I can tell.
Yeah,
You sort of talk a lot better, right? Whoa.
Yeah.
I'll cop it.
Maybe
my friends
not
up
as
in
tan.
Queensland, it's all right. No, that's right. It's all in jest. But no, thanks for coming, guys. I appreciate your time and the insights.
thank you,
And as I said before, just to book in the chat, if you are travelling through town and you're in Sydney for any reason, investors of all shapes and sizes, whatever journey you're on, whether it's sort of irrespective of what your why is, it'd be great if you can come along and share it, because people do get a lot of benefit and satisfaction around learning from other people. So it's my objective just to keep deepening out this community of connected property investors, and hopefully we can all be better informed and make better decisions as we all try and shape our future through investing in property. Remember to check out smartpropertyinvestment.com.au if you're not yet subscribing to our daily morning newsletter, so you're the first to know what's going on in property right across Australia. smartpropertyinvestment.com.au/subscribe, or if you're a social media person, just search Smart Property HQ. You track us down. Wherever you listen to this podcast, remember to press the subscribe button. Any questions at all, even if it's for Glen and Gabi, if you want to sort of pick their brain a bit more, you can email the team, editor@smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. We'll be back again next time. Until then, bye-bye.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.